We are in the paddock at Oulton Park, a very, very warm paddock at Oulton Park for Student Motorsport. And I'm here with Alan Barratt. How are you?
Not too bad at all, thank you.
That's great. So you joined in May 2023, you've become team principal. How have you developed and evolved the team?
Well, I mean, I delivered the programme at the college. I delivered the programme at the college before then, anyway. So when it was the inception was there, and introduced the motorsport course to the college, sort of about 4 years before then. So it's been running a while, and we had different projects we were doing and all the rest of it. And then in 2022, we got the opportunity to join Student Motorsport, and the current manager Leon was then the driver, and he raced through until he left the college in May 23, when we then got Hayden. So when Leon left, we then rebranded the car. Obviously had Hayden as a driver, and Hayden, novice driver, consistent, just outside the top three most of the time. But then we end up finishing the season third overall in class. So it was a good start to that point. Rolling into 2024, we then had a student driver who was part of the pit crew for Hayden. So through the time working with Hayden through the car, Brady was part of that crew, and then obviously inevitably when then Hayden left to go to QE, we offered Brady the seat. Within sort of 10 minutes, he contacted his parents, had his art test books, and said, "Yep, I'm offered, we're doing it," which was fantastic. And then obviously through that year, we then also ran Hayden's dad, because obviously Hayden's dad was racing in the City Car Cup as well. So we took the decision that we would run him alongside Brady. It's a little bit of a sort of pro-am really, so you've got an experienced driver working with a novice, and it worked really, really well. They sort of work with each other, and obviously because Brady had got a really good friendship with Hayden anyway, and the whole team, to be fair, the whole team had, they all worked closely together anyway. So through ups and downs through the season, they were there supporting each other and giving each other feedback to support. And generally, because of how they work and they, Hayden and Brady work together, they pushed each other through the year as well, which then improved. And obviously, Brady come out sort of quite victorious, being second in class overall, third in the overall championship itself, and top novice in 2024. So when Hayden decided that he was going to use his dad's car this year and come back to us, it was like, we've got a bit of a dream team going on here. It's fantastic.
So it sounds like you're very pleased with the team and drivers at the minute.
Oh, definitely, yes. I mean, we're extremely pleased with that, and as of this weekend, we've actually now sort of taken another father and son duo under our ring, and we're now running them as well.
Well, I was just about to talk about that. So the demands of running 2 cars is extreme. Running 3 cars is another level.
Well, it is another level, but because we've got this fantastic setup where, because most of the team that was with Brady were his classmates and his good friends, they're actually now the mentors and the supporters for those coming through. So the students that we've got here today, they're doing all the work, but they're being mentored and coached by the original team from last year. And that's worked really well. They're giving them the guys, advice and guidance where they need it, and they really do. They all work together well as well.
So Ben and Glenn will be using the exact same car. They'll be swapping, as far as I'm aware, swapping every single round between them. But how has Ben and Glenn and Hayden and Brady worked together as a team?
Oh, they're fantastic because obviously Glenn is a little bit more mature. He's obviously it was his first season in racing last year, and he needs some help and some encouragement. And he's took the decision this year that he's going to share the drive with his son. And obviously this week at Oulton, that's his son's first time out. Didn't do any practice beforehand, so his practice was qualifying, because sort of logistics of what they needed to do. But the good thing is we've got Hayden and Brady who actually can give them developmental feedback and give them advice on the driving lines. I mean, last night we ended up doing a track walk where they was, even getting coaching from Andy Payne. So Andy Payne was actually talking to Glenn, talking to Ben, and saying these are the lines we would take around here. And then Hayden and Brady were going, we'd take this line, but we would do this as well. And it's just that extra development going on. So we've still got within the team a really good sort of thing where we've got, Andy Payne is now, unfortunately, not racing in the series, but because he's a coordinator of the series for one of their SEC forms, separately. BRSCC formulas. So he's doing that, but the good thing is that gives him the opportunity to then be here as support for his son, obviously, and be a mentor for the rest of the team as well, given his vast experience over as well.
So now let's move on to the technical side of things. You've brought a new fuel in called Sustain 33. How have you come about that?
Well, we've been looking at using or running with sustainable fuel for some time. And obviously the sticking point with anything to do with, unfortunately, with sustainable fuels and the race fuels is the cost of them. I mean, they're not cheap. The conventional fuel at the moment is, I think the super unleaded is sort of in the region of £1.50 a litre. This is £4.82 a litre, so it's considerably more expensive. But we're aware that the future for motorsport, I mean, my opinion is it's not going to be electric. It's going to be still using combustion engines, but it's going to go more on a sustainable front and be moving along the line of zero fuels. The Sustain 33 is a halfway for us because we'd love to go fully sustainable, but unfortunately we can't, because to run fully sustainable fuel you need to have the option to make modifications, tweaks and changes to the running of an engine. A lot of the synthetic fuels, they run a little bit leaner, so the engine will run hotter, so to compensate that you need to be able to put a larger radiator in, you need to do timing adjustments, and there's other bits and pieces you need to do to enable that to run efficiently with it. And because we're in a formula where we are completely restricted to what we can do, the best option we have is to run the Sustain 33, which is about 60% fossil fuel, but the remainder of it is sustainable. So it's all synthetic based. So it's a blend of both, but it is, I mean, dare say it's a drop in fuel. So you can put it in without making any adjustments at all, and it'll work well. Obviously, it's the first weekend we're running it this weekend, and we're monitoring how it's going. We ran it in practice on Thursday, and so far, I mean, it's sort of proven in race one that it's actually not really much of a disadvantage to the current fuels that are, from normal pumps.
So let's talk about Stetson. It was a challenging weekend. You got a P3 for Pollock in race 1,
yes,
and Hayden a P4.
Yes,
but unfortunately there was a bit of an incident.
Yes, it all went wrong. Yeah, so I mean, I say we knew this year's going to be tough with Boston College having Andrew Dyer and Stuart Bliss as their drivers. We knew it's going to be a tough year, and obviously with Richard Jett having the ground for 3 years, we want to challenge that. And we proved that we are capable of challenging right up there with that last year. And obviously Brady and Hayden finishing 3rd and 4th respectively to two very experienced drivers, we thought was actually a really good start to the season. So first race over, happy with that. Unfortunately the start of the second race didn't quite go to plan. Obviously Brady went for a move on the outside to try and gain the overall lead. Unfortunately kind of inside of him spun, and then sort of that sent him nicely into the barriers at turn 1, which sort of really destroyed the car. So that was Brady done for the weekend. There was nothing we could salvage. It was beyond any repair we could do, because it not just bent all the chassis up and just mangled the car, it actually snapped parts of the engine as well. So it was a good, quite heavy shunt, which wasn't too bad because Hayden was then fighting, and Hayden was then sort of going really well, really battling on well, really strong race from Hayden. Unfortunately he got then caught up in a little bit of commotion in the second race, and he sort of ended up dropping from 3rd down to, I think he finished 8th in the end on that one. But it's motorsport, it happens. And then race 3, obviously no Brady. Hayden was then sort of following Stuart Bliss really well, nice and close, sort of pushing forwards into the sort of top 2, and got collected by another car which had sort of spun on the inside of him, which then again also then sent him barrier bound.
Yeah, so it was quite an expensive weekend.
Yes.
But we move on.
We do.
Race round 1 finished. How have you worked so hard, especially with the students and the Easter holidays, to make it possible to race here for round 2, race 4 and 5?
Well, this is where it's really good, and this is where some of the students have really sort of shown themselves that they're passion for what they're doing. Because the first thing they're doing is saying, like, are you doing anything over the Easter holidays? And I said, what we're going to do is, I'm going to go into work on Wednesday. I'm going to go with me and Glenn will be there. We're going to do an initial assessment of the car and see what we need to do. And then we'll be in touch and let you know what we need. And they were more than happy to come in over the holidays and spend the time we could, and help out with the sort of because basically we sort of built a new car for Brady. Obviously the downside is because it's his holidays also, and when you're taking task of reshelling the car, you need to get the components you need. So it's then it's like, oh yeah, we'd love to do it straight away and do it, but all we can do is do it in stages because we need to do certain parts of it. Before we can put the roll cage in, we need to have the feet plates. So we have to wait for the feet plates to be delivered before we can do that. So then you've got sort of 4 days where you're sort of sitting there twiddling your thumbs and well, there's not really much we can do because we need these plates to do. So obviously initially all we done was we stripped Brady's car down, took everything we needed to out of there, checked everything over, and that's where we sort of ended up with that. But then luckily, because of how things turned out, with the time we had between parts arriving and bits being delivered and bits and pieces, we then managed to rebuild it up so it's all it's a brand new bearings hubs. So it's literally a brand new car, apart from the roll cages from the old one and the shock absorbers out the old one. That's pretty much the only parts which were salvaged from it.
Wow, so it was a big hit then.
Yeah.
Both your students have worked hard. You have worked hard.
Yeah, so it's not me, the staff as well. We've got a couple of members of staff who are really passionate about it and they get really involved as well. I say Glenn's here this weekend, Oscar's here this weekend, because they both enjoy it. I mean, again, Oscar is another example of how things can go really well because he was a student in Brady's group, supporting Brady and supporting Hayden in the first year that we ran with Hayden. And he's now actually a member of staff, so he's now one of the technicians we have in the workshop. So it proves, we've actually developing people and they're actually enjoying being with the college that much. They don't want to go, they want to come and work with us, so that's an advantage there too.
So talking about the development of you and WSC with Motorsport, can you talk us a little bit about the future? Is there anything that's really interesting that you can tell us?
I could, but I'm not going to. All I'm going to say is that we've got plans. I mean, we plan to do the 24-hour endurance race this year with the C1s at Silverstone. We would have had the car done by then, but with logistics from different drivers' things and some other bits and pieces went on. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. But we were hoping to be like the first college to do it, running sustainable fuel, or using the Sustain 33. So we're taking that big leap forward and sort of trying to tick all these boxes. Moving on, but unfortunately that didn't happen. However, that's not dead in the water because we will be doing the race of remembrance with Mission Motorsport in November at Anglesey, which is going to be quite good because the drivers obviously, Hayden did the race of remembrance last year with a team. Obviously our next round is at Anglesey, so there's going to be some good experience gained from going around there. Whether it will be in the city cars that we do it, we don't know yet.
So we will see.
We will see. Yeah, we've got some, because I say we're not just about doing team development. I mean, my sort of ethos behind it is that we take drivers and we build drivers as well. So we have, we take novices on, we put them in, because obviously ultimately the City Car Cup is an entry formula into circuit racing. It's one of the least expensive there is. And obviously the student motorsport aspect is really good because it engages and gets the colleges and everyone, the universities and schools, obviously in QE's case, to come in and learn and actually give hands-on experience to students who go, well, actually I quite like motorsport, but they actually see the other side of it because a lot of them come into college and they say when we have them recruiting in and we interview them and all the rest, they go, oh yeah, I'd really like to go and work in Formula 1 or touring cars. But when they come and join the course and they're actually in the paddock, they see the unglamorous side of it, that you're down scrutineering about 7 o'clock in the morning, you're fitting engines until midnight, and the part that is not so glamorous but the main aspect to it and the main point of it, and that's an experience that you can't just pick up, you have to be involved in it. So that aspect of it is where it's really, really does excel.
I promise you this is the last question.
Go on.
Right, race 2, what are your plans and what are your intentions for all 3 of your cars?
Well, we've made a few tweaks to Brady's and Hayden's to try and encounter a few of the little issues we had in race 1, which we try and iron them out. And obviously with Ben, it's just a case of, get yourself comfortable, get your confidence up, and this weekend really for Ben is about confidence building. It's about, he's on the track, he's working through it, and he's doing really well because he's not, it could be he's coming and go, yeah, I'm going to do this, and you could just send it into a corner, end up in the gravel or worse, and that's the whole point. It's doing that thing where we can, the drivers we have and the team we have help the confidence of people.
Cool. Thank you very much for your time. I'll let you go.